Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Legacy Fight Night. We are going into the final match of the night. I'm Ivan Luz, and I got my buddy and my co-commentator right down below, Mr. Jack Dax. Hey,
Yo.
thanks for coming back. To you and to everybody else. It looks like in this final round here, we have the always present Death and Taxes from Frosty here,
Oh yeah.
who has just consistently torn up these leagues and just dominating the Discord here on her Death and Taxes. And on our right here, we have Jen Daddy on the classic Grixis Delver. We're seeing another Delver match tonight, but we're seeing one that has overall, in general, fallen out of favor a bit, but still a very, very powerful deck here.
Yeah, no, Gracious Delver has fallen out of favor. I do miss the days of it, back when it was still Deathrite Shaman strong. Bitter Blossom is a good fix for it. There are some good cards that came in recently because of it. You had Dread Horde, Arcanist. Um, it's just fallen out of the wayside because Oko has been so strong and so prevalent, and then Veil of Summer is in the side that you get. Um, a lot of that power and potential that you used to have with it is not there anymore, but it still puts up work. The threat levels and the package of thought ceasing people. Liliana's Triumph is also very solid if you play the lilies in the sideboard. So
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the black package is huge, right? And I mean, not to mention these Skyclave apparitions that are coming in to deal with things like Oko aren't going to be able to deal with something like a Gurmag Angler main deck, which is cool.
oh yeah, super solid. As Left Coin does point out, we do have another resident Death and Taxes player, also one of our lovely mods, Astrid.
Oh, yeah.
Great job on winning Saturday Challenge, two
Nice.
weeks, not in a row, but almost back to back.
Yeah.
Very close.
TNT being huge, huge on this Discord. Not only is it, an amazingly fun deck to play, both you and I can attest to that.
Oh yeah.
But it's also fairly inexpensive, and I mean, it just got some new toys. So I mean, if you're interested in Legacy and looking for a first deck, TNT is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, I mean there are other options. Burn is still very viable. It has some new toys here and there. I do think Death and Taxes is a very good deck to learn off of,
Yeah,
because it really forces you to learn the metagame of any metagame that you're playing against. Because the deck really lives and dies not only on the pilot, as most legacy decks do, but
yeah,
also lives and dies on understanding what every archetype does and what every other deck would have in their deck.
that's
Just because you have to start metagaming around, like if you're playing against Delver, you know you're going to go against Dazes, but if it's Grixis, it's starting to weigh the pros and cons of playing around certain things like Thoughtseize and other things.
how aggressive do you want to be, right? How do you want to spend your mana? Do you want to spend your mana porting down lands, or do you want to spend your mana committing more to the board? Yeah, it's good, clean magic, you could say.
Yeah, definitely. As we'll point out from Prez, I don't believe you when you say Painter is another metagame deck. I really don't believe you. Prez is one of our lovely mods as well. Has been on Strawberry Shortcake Painter for a long time. Imperial Painter before that, I believe. But Painter has not been around for a while. I love Painter, but that deck kind of died when Top died. Uh, don't
That
don't hate me, Prez. Don't hate me, Prez. But
as I said, I'm just kidding.
Painter is a ton of fun.
You almost played Painter tonight, huh?
Oh, that would have been interesting. Um, Also, as I believe Les Coast pointed out, Jin Daddy is one of our new players. Just joined the Discord. I'm so hyped to see this group grow. I'm so
Yeah.
hyped that people want to play on camera.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
it's always great to have new players shown and presented on stream because it gives back to that community. Because when I was a new player and when I first joined this Discord, I loved the idea of streams. I believe we weren't even streaming back then when we started off back in. I believe Ivan, you joined in December, but I joined in January or February on then, and we
Yeah.
only picked up streaming after April sometime. If you check our YouTube account, exclamation point YouTube, you can see the generation and improvement gap from the beginning of our streaming days to now. Tons
Yeah.
of fun.
Certainly weren't streams. It was just a couple tournaments here and there that I threw together. But look where we are now, and we are what coming up on 1,700 members now.
Yeah, we're almost to 1700, and it looks like we're going to start off in the Underground Sea after fetching off a Pluto Delta into an Inquisition of Kozilek. The
Position
IOK.
probably the best hand disruption card against this deck because everything in D&T is going to be 3 or less. Frosty is keeping a really good hand here, especially against something like Delver. But you can never ever count Delver out. I've always been on the side of saying that I think D&T is traditionally favored against Delver style decks. But I mean, let's also remember that Delver is Delver, right?
Of course. And of course, you're going to take the Thalia. You don't want to be in that situation where you actually have to cast for more. Being able to daze for no mana is also really good.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. And having perfect information here, basically, and having Frosty on the back foot, right? Only having these two lands. Yeah, Skyclave not looking super great yet, but D&T does play a lot of lands, so that could come up real quick. You're not seeing an immediate answer to Mom, so let's see what goes on here.
looks like we're just going to ponder straight in. Maybe we'll find a Volk to get rid of Mom. Uh, as Lady Venus does say, that is a very nice planes. We did find out it's the Japanese planes, I want to say.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very popular around here, and I can see why. It's beautiful.
it is super nice. One of my favorite planes of that APAC.
Yeah, top deck Mom is huge, especially once again against something like Grixis Delver, where one of your biggest threats is Gurmag Angler, and Mom just stops it dead in its tracks.
Looks like we didn't see any red mana yet. Jin Daddy just showing the Underground Seas. This could be confusing because if you don't say the red mana, you might be tricked into thinking this might be some kind of variant deck, maybe ninjas.
Or even
Um,
Black Shadow.
Blueback Shadow could be also one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we're definitely gonna see a force on that.
of course. Incidentally, that is Spirit of Labyrinth, I want to say, and it is from.
Theros,
I think
something
it's
like.
Theros, I want to say, because I think it's also an enchantment.
Yeah,
And it forces you to only draw one card per turn. Not very good in a deck that plays blue. You don't like that.
yeah, absolutely. And decks have actually been adopting these D&T decks have been leaning more towards it as of late. And even going up to two copies in the main. It's kind of cool to see. Uh, yeah, maybe it was Born of the Gods. It was something.
Yeah, it was definitely in the Theros block. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
Born of the Gods famously being probably the worst set of that block, except for having Anger of the Gods, I want to say, in it, and Spirit of the Labyrinth.
There's a Labyrinth always been
Yeah, Chaotic is
definitely
definitely speaking from experience when it comes to lands. Our
true.
resident mod team member, great person to be around, but also is a land collector. One of every basic land. A very hard fought task.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know at this point, he's also my fellow beard brother. We had some hype for that earlier in the chat. So, yeah, once again, shout out to big ass beards, too.
Seems like we're thought seizing and getting rid of the Aether Vial. Seems like a good idea.
Yeah, seems legit. That way you can just counter every other thing. And wow, Wasteland really, really putting a pinch on Frosty over here. But now Gen Daddy really, really needs a threat. And that threat also needs to not be Gurmag Angler.
The beard envy is real from our mod team. Gotta love the community that we have fostered with not only our mod team, but with our player base.
Yeah.
Shout outs to you guys for making this all possible. Um, Frosty has drawn another APAC land. Very good time to be in. And
Hey,
this is probably the worst situation to be in as the Death and Taxes player. You have to draw.
Gen Daddy wanted. Like I said, Gurmag Angler probably being the worst threat. TNN probably being the best, actually, because it can't be swords, it can't be apparitioned, and it can't be blocked by Mom. It's just probably going to go the distance here.
Yeah,
Unless
this
we.
is super unfortunate to be in unless you get a council judgment.
How many cards do we got in Gen Daddy's hand, by the way? Do we still have any permission up? Because permission right now would be
Ooh.
devastating.
I'm not sure. Frosty, we've seen 4 cards in the hand, and I think Jin Daddy might be fresh out.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks like.
that's fresh out.
But I mean, TNN gonna do its thing. Yeah, and TNN has also fallen off a little bit. I mean, you'll obviously still see it in the Merfolk decks and different Delver variants. I still personally play it in Blue Red Delver. I think it's a house. We are seeing GT though, which is gonna make things a little more complex.
I mean, at this point, you could just equip the mom. Not recommended, but you
Pop.
could.
Yeah, I agree that TNN never stopped being good. Um, sure, you have things like Plague Engineer, but Plague Engineer can be dazed. So
And then I believe we missed the follow, but it was Zipify who gave us a follow. Thanks for following us.
yeah,
One of our newer members of the Discord. We're happy that you're joining us and happy that you're settling out the audiovisual issues and figuring it out. Ooh, that is a Bitter Blossom.
that's sweet. That's super sweet. These main deck Bitter Blossoms are awesome coming in here from Gen Daddy. Really cool stuff. Just making everything blockable. Um, We are seeing the apparition though, which obviously is going to go ahead and hit the only target it really can.
We're gonna hit the Bitter Blossom, I would assume here. That is permanently exiled.
Yeah, that's true, Nez. I mean, the 3 drops as of late have gotten, absurd, right?
Yeah, this is not that rough. Thankfully, we can gain life. We have a GTA out. Um,
Yeah, and speaking of good 3 drops, once
there
again,
are races. There are ways to race this.
yep.
Um, one
Uh,
card in hand. Hmm.
but yeah, once again, speaking of 3 drops, Sky Shout Apparition just coming in and really giving DNT this huge push that it needs.
Yeah, I imagine that you just equip it there and just swing out.
Yeah, just race to the finish here. But fortunately, we are seeing red mana, at least for Jin Daddy. That's fortunate. To be able to, bolt to face or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think if you're in Frost's position as a D&T player, you're probably gonna keep up. If you do swing in again, you'll up it once and then keep one back just in case you need the life gain.
Yeah, life gain, pumping,
Yeah.
opposition agent. Yeah, that'll be tormenting your local meta soon as well. The new Hull Breacher or whatever it was,
I believe it's Hull Preacher. It's a very interesting card to think about.
that Merfolk dude. Kind of think it's cool. Yeah, hisses in the chat. Sure. All right.
Yeah, I really hope not to see a lot of opposition agent, but it's more than likely in our future.
Hey, who knows? One of the big reasons people stopped playing TNN as much is because of things like Plague Engineer, and they may end up fighting for the same spots in a lot of decks. So, I mean, we may see a resurgence of TNN actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see more TNN. I played Stoneblade for about a year and a half. Before that, I played Miracles with a one of TNN at one point.
Hmm.
Great card. It's just utterly broken, and it just happens to be not as good because more broken things were
Right.
put into the level of this format.
Yeah. But as we can see here, right, Skyshroud apparition detail. CJK 1234. Thank you for the follow. Thanks for tuning out, everybody. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. I believe we're swinging in. Did we pump twice? We did. Ah, more lands. The more APAC lands, the better.
Just an entire actual field here. Beautiful stuff.
We're going for 3. Flicker Wisp probably targeting our own lands.
Yeah, and Frosty's sort of getting good draws here with these basic planes, right? I mean, sometimes D&T can just sort of stumble on itself and get nothing but non-basics and then just get eaten alive by Wasteland. But you know, drawing into these top deck lands and stuff always super good to have. It's the reason why D&T plays so many lands.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I'm not sure how familiar Jin Daddy is with this matchup at all, but some people do forget because GTA has a lot of words and jumbling on it. There's a lot of different things that come with GTA. Like, for example, GTA says combat damage. It doesn't say to a player. Very distinguished from swords. Those have to be to a player. Uh, Also on GTA, there's only one thing that actually says it has to be equipped to something, which is pumping a creature. GTA's other effects, like gaining life and causing a target creature to get -1/-1 counters, is something that comes from GTA itself.
I've been playing the card for literal years, and sometimes I still make mistakes with it just because it does so much and does so much whenever you want it to, basically.
I'm actually interested to see how this one plays out. I would not be surprised if Frosty decides to down tick it so it kills Delver right now, and then just pump after.
Yeah, just get it out of the way, right? I mean, I think Frosty's in a very, very good position here.
Yeah, definitely a very good position. Frosty's playing this right. I assume that she'll down tick it once, unless she's really worried about life totals. I think there's only 2 cards in Jin Daddy's hand, unless she has another Okay.
That's a good one. Are we gonna fight over this?
No, we're not. We're just gonna equip it to something and call it a day.
Yeah,
That's
this race is totally lost from Jin Daddy's side.
that's a something.
So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think we're just swinging 5, and then doing 2 damage to the face, and then minusing off the Jitai here. I
Actually,
imagine.
I
So
think it's just
that's 7 face, and then draw a card, and then -1 to kill the Delver. And that should be round 1.
well, yeah, that's right. I always forget once again. Apparition does not have flying, so it's
No, it
not
doesn't.
it's not gonna go over that TNN. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's 5 right there, plus an additional 2 is 7.
However, equipping the
Jin will live, technically speaking.
however, if Frosty would have put the sword onto the apparition, would that not have been lethal?
Yes, it would have been.
Because that would have been at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 GT counters. Yeah, I think that would have been
Yes.
lethal. But giving Jin Daddy one more turn to try and do something about it. Are
I
we
do
hit?
have to wonder where the bolt's going.
Gotta go to face, right? But then again, no, because once again, GT can just gain the life.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're gonna gain 2 life after GTA here.
Yeah, that's yeah. Table spotter points out that it
Yep.
does leave the open to bolt, which was there. So yeah, good call. And again,
Skyclave was definitely the hero this game needed.
yeah, Cyclave is the hero that D&T needed, I think.
Oh yeah.
Once again, showing its power, even just as something to be there. Just another good casted creature that with an insane upside.
Yeah, definitely. And then we're going to sideboards now. I do want to note Jin Daddy's sideboard as I put it in. The big things here I'm looking at are the Plague Engineer, the Blazing Volley, and the Null Rod.
Yeah, yeah.
All great cards to have. Now, one of a Braid might be good too, but
I think most of these cards are really good to bring in, right? Like that's one of the
oh yeah.
strengths of Grixis Delver is its sideboard just being extremely strong, right? Like especially against these decks like D&T, right? Blazing Volley is huge. Pithing Needle can be huge.
Even
Um,
Liliana is good. Even Liliana is good.
oh, Liliana Last Hope is a win condition in its own
Yeah.
right. I mean, granted, once again, the All-Star Ice Shroud apparition being able to take care of Liliana is something, but it's still it's a must answer, and it can't be swords, it can't be any of that. So yeah, I like lots of those cards, and personally, I would probably be taking out some permission. Right, Spell Pierce is pretty much coming out auto for me, and potentially some Force of Wills because you already have your dazes, you're on the play, and you basically just want to let Death and Taxes get enough rope to hang itself, and then just wipe its board.
Our resident streamer, the lovely Beyond Sadistic, apparently is talking about heresy. We can't have that around here. Um, I'm sure the mod team will whip it all into shape. Maybe Lady Vitos can help us out. Um,
Oh yeah,
I'm sure Beyond Sadistic can find the error of his ways.
chat going ham over here. Thanks for coming out and having some fun, y'all. I like to see it. Get hyped.
Oh yeah. And for those who are unaware, we are the MTGPL Discord, MTG Paper Legacy Discord. If you type an exclamation point Discord in the Twitch chat, you'll be brought up to our invite link to our Discord. We do weekly events. We do every Tuesday night. We do a Legacy Fight Night, which is tonight. Tonight is PvP, which is one of our evergreen content formats, where 6 players get randomly selected to play on stream. Sometimes our other evergreen format is Fight Night, where you get to fight one of the mods, like myself or Ivan, or even Beyond Sadistic, or maybe Prez, or maybe Chaotic Bear, or maybe
Uh,
even Astrid, one of our best players on D&T.
right? Come on out. Get a piece of it.
And of
Uh,
course, we have our weekly Saturdays. And then we also have the league, which next week we'll have our league finals and semifinals on stream next Tuesday, replacing our normal fight night. The final week of every month will always be replaced for Tuesday night to be our league finals and semifinals. Every month we host a league. We'll also open up the league opening registration for December, which will be tons of fun. And then in February, if you qualify for it, we have an invitational, which will be a ton of fun. It counts from beginning of November to the end of January. If you type in exclamation point invitational, you'll check out that too. Um, and yes, Lady Vitas, we did mention your name. Beyond Sadistic was talking about some heresy about Skyclave being too good.
Yeah.
And apparently Opposition Agent needs to be printed more. Like Into the Ground, great card. We're just really hoping that maybe Beyond Sadistic can come to an agreement.
Who knows? Maybe we're all just tired of losing the friggin' BNT, whether you like it or not. So notably, I keep seeing things about people talking about Dreadhorde Arcanist. Notably, there are none in this Grixis Delver deck.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. We do see the Young Pizzies, the classic Grixis Delver format. Um,
Yeah, this
and
is the
unfortunately, I don't think we talked about Frosty's sideboard, did we?
Frosty sideboard is basically your modern stock D&T list here. You have your Elspeth, you got your Cataclysm, you got another sword, you have the Sword and Feast and Famine,
Oh yeah.
Sanctum Prelate, Council's Judgment, you got your 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Containment Priest, 2 Path to Exile, 2 Digger's Cage, and 2 Deafening Silence. What do you like here?
I imagine we put in Rest in Peace because I assume that Frosty's played this matchup before. She knows that there's going to be a Gurmag somewhere in there. Especially since she hadn't seen any Dreadhorde and she's seeing the TNN. She might
Yeah,
be aware that this is the older format board, especially with the Bitter Blossoms coming out.
right.
I would also bring in, more than likely, I would bring in maybe a Path to Exile or two.
Like,
She might be on the assumption that there isn't any basic lands because old school Grixis Delver did not play any basic lands, and we're playing old school Grixis Delver. Almost pre Deathrite Shaman, almost at this point.
uh-huh. I mean, yeah, I'm in love with bringing in the path. I think it's amazing here. And I think Sanctum Prelate's good. I think putting
Oh yeah,
Prelate is insane. I don't think I would have the big brain enough to think to bring in the Rest in Peace because I would assume that if I'm playing against Grixis Delver, they're going to board out their Gurmag Anglers because I think it's like the weakest threat against DNT. But maybe Frosty knows. Maybe she's saying, I'm not seeing it. But once again, either that or it could potentially be Dreadhorde, even though it isn't. But either way, Rest in Peace does work there. So
indeed. And I assume, of course, she's going to bring in Council Judgment. That seems like the no brainer. You saw TNN, that needs to come in. I do
yep,
not want to die to TNN.
certainly not. In terms of taking things out here, you know, probably the Revoker, right? Because we're not
Yeah.
seeing super relevant there. And I usually take out Recruiter the Guard because I don't necessarily need to spend the mana to go get something. I'm not trying to grind here. I'm just trying to present threats and run them out of cards. But either way, I mean, you're getting into it.
Yeah, Cosmic does bring up a good point. But it also has other effects. If you played against Grixis Delver long enough, you do know that the Liliana Last Hope is a possibility. Eliminating Liliana's -2 is also helpful, just in case they do have threats they need to get back. That is another option. Really, it's all just about versatility, understanding what your outs are. Definitely, Council Judgment has to come in, but everything else kind of becomes a question of how much do you feel safe and comfortable getting Gurmags out.
Exactly.
How comfortable you think about cards coming back.
That's a big
Even if you
part.
assume that there's Dreadhorde, at this point there could just be an assumption that they didn't draw one of their 4 Dreadhordes theoretically.
It also could just be the comfortability of your own play patterns, right? I mean, people underestimate that a lot. Like you can really
Oh
get
yeah,
with like odd play patterns because they're so used to seeing the same sequencing, and it sometimes you just get them. But so I'm assuming we're seeing Pithing Needle on Aether Vial, which is great because Aether Vial being the best start you can see in a D&T deck. It frees up all of your mana to use all of your utility lands.
on Naming Vial. Yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah,
of course. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're just assuming that Dreadhorde's going to be there. So you're assuming Dreadhorde, Gurmag, and Liliana. If Frosty had the perfect information, you wouldn't bring it in. But I'm operating under the assumption that she thinks there's going to be a Dreadhorde somewhere in there,
yeah,
which, because she doesn't have that perfect information, she doesn't know.
right. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Jen, we're not seeing a daze here on this Thalia. So this Thalia is gonna, sort of be the 1-2 punch that
Ooh.
D&T really wants against Delver decks to really crunch them on mana. Yeah, 5 head Pithing Needle for sure.
You know, typically if it was between Grafdigger's Cage and Pith and Rest in Peace, if I'm playing the Death and Taxes matchup against the deck that's playing Dreadhorde, I'm gonna bring in the Grafdigger's Cage because it's just cheaper and easier for me to cast.
Graph Digger's Cage rules. Are we wastelanding a wasteland here? Let's see if
I don't think so. I think we're actually wastelanding the. Oh, we are wastelanding the wasteland. Okay, we're doing something here then.
yeah, I'm gonna assume that Jim Daddy's gonna use their mana as efficiently as possible. Potentially, we'll see a bolt here on the Thalia, which is what I'd be wanting to see if I was Jin Daddy. Is Apparition gonna eat that needle? Probably.
Probably,
Apparition
I would imagine so.
eat just about everything it's come in contact with. You do see the bolt on the Thalia, so at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
for the moment is out from under this strangle. But Frosty may just have another Thalia.
Yeah, that's the risk you run as Grixis Delver and any other deck that plays against Thalia. You have to get rid of it, and then they could always have another one, and then have Caracas back up, which is the worst possible situation you can be in.
Once again, having these, Jin also can potentially want to play for the long game, right? Just wait for Frosty to put out her X1s and then just eat them all in one fell swoop, which feels really good from the Delver side.
Yeah, it seems like Jindadi is finally getting enough mana to go places. We're gonna see the Underground Sea and the Volk, so we are online. We're in business. We
Yeah.
might see a young Pizzy most likely to start it off, I imagine.
Yeah, young Peasy just can go bonkers out of control really fast. Yeah.
Wastelanded was
But they
Wastelanded, but Wasteland mana was floated to Bolt.
yes, absolutely.
We're gonna start off with the Thoughtseize. I'm assuming we're taking GT immediately.
Take GTA immediately. I mean, obviously, Flicker Wisp is good, but at the same time, GTA is just going to equip to any possible creature and take over the game, basically. Um, and also, Flicker Wisp is pretty easy to deal with. The port is actually the card I'd be most worried about, to be fair, but you can't take port, so
Yeah, this could turn into a situation that spirals out of control to just be a port game.
yeah. Niz says take the Wisp. They're all saying take care of the Wisp. I guess
I'm honestly more surprised. The Wisp is a danger card, but you're also just not too worried about it. You have Volk mana up. You could bolt it. You can get rid of it other ways. You're more likely to draw one of your 4 bolts than one of your 2 abrades, most likely.
that was my line of thinking anyway.
Yeah.
We are seeing black mana tapped at upkeep, which is really good.
Yeah, I do agree. If you kill everything, that you're gonna not have anything to equip to GT. But if GT comes out and they just put anything in, you're screwed until you draw an abrade. That's
Once
one of
again,
my lines of thinking. If GT's out, that's always a live card. It is never dead. And here enough, we see Mom, which if GT was still here, they would be screwed.
we are going to need to see some sort of plague engineer effect or something to get rid of these other these X1s. Unfortunately for Jen Daddy, all we are seeing are X1s from Frosty's side.
Oh yeah.
With all of these newer printings and everything, X1s have become less and less of a thing.
Oh, we're
Uh,
using a braid straight on that. Okay.
yeah, I mean, if Vile's already um, taken care of for now, anyway.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah,
We will probably see a blink on it at some point soon.
Yeah, Frosty definitely being
Is
efficient.
that the
Hello, dog.
doggo?
One of my doggos. Hello, Lorelai. Welcome to the stream. Say hi to everybody. You come up to commentate with me? Just don't be too loud. All right, so we are seeing the Flicker Wisp come down. We could see the Flicker Wisp on Vile, which is really tech. Or I'm sorry, on Pithing Needle, and
I
then being
assume it's gonna be Pithing Needle, and then we're gonna violin probably a 2-drop. I imagine if we have one.
stuff.
Maybe we'll have a Thalia. No, we're gonna have a Stoneforge. Okay.
Yeah, one
We're
more
living the dream.
piece of equipment because now there would be the double up. What do you think we're going for here? Batter Skull?
No, we're probably getting swords. Fire Nice.
I mean, it's huge, yeah. Batter Skull on an empty board is tempting, though.
Yeah, but our life loader is fine. We're in a situation where we don't really need life.
Yeah, very
This
true.
happens.
Sword of Fire and Ice just becomes an absurdly fast block. But hey,
Okay, we're going straight for the batter skull. Okay, that's a decision. I do have to wonder if we are gonna pick Aether Vial again, or are we gonna pick Stoneforge?
yeah, really good. Like that's those hard decisions, right? I mean, once again though, Aether Vial just so absurd, like so good at being able to, uh, keep Frosty from using her wastelands and ports so effectively. Yeah, Niz says equipment is useless without bodies. True. I mean, unless you're it's a batter skull, right?
Yeah, no, no. You do end up in situations where you just have to take risks. You can either get rid of the body, or you can just pray they don't draw into their 20 creatures in their deck, give or take, or some crazy amount. I don't
Right.
even remember how much D&T plays creatures anymore. I think it's what, 15
This
creatures? It's
list,
it's an excessive amount of creatures.
Foxy's deck here specifically, main deck is 25.
Oh, we're seeing another braid. Okay.
And we're gonna see a path and response. Okay, that's cool.
We named Port.
Yeah, I mean, it
Okay.
looks like Daddy's having some trouble on their land, so they're gonna have to. Um, I wonder if it would have been better to wait for Frosty to dedicate the mana to the Batterskull to abrade it, but she's a really, really excellent player. So I mean, she's probably
Yeah.
thinking, how about instead I'll tap your mana at the most inopportune time, and then put out the Batterskull. Lots and lots of lines here. We had talked earlier about D&T, being able to like sculpt your game plan based on the texture of the match, given enough time. That's one of the huge strengths of D&T. There's just so many different lines you can take, and more than you'd even think at first glance.
Yeah, you do end up in a situation here where Frosty might be tempted to cast the Batter Skull, but you do end up into Daze territory where you don't want to be.
Yeah, certainly not. Just throw down. I mean, you're gonna top deck another land eventually anyway. Just
Yep, we're going for it. No
okay.
days?
Days.
No days.
Do not see the days, unfortunately.
Ooh.
But you know what? Once again, the port has been locked down, so we may just see another abrade.
Might see another braid, but I don't think there is more than 2 copies in the sideboard. We could say the one Fatal Push, in
Oh,
theory.
you're right. Yeah.
And there's the Thalia.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And Delver certainly does need to land a threat. I mean, honestly, TNN would be very good as well. But Thalia gonna make everything other than TNN hard,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we don't even have 3 mana yet.
We're Gurmagging. Okay, that's a good threat to be in.
That's definitely something that's gonna be able to block the um, Batterskull at least, the germ.
Yeah. You do end up with a 5/5. You live that dream.
Yeah, those 1 mana 5/5s, still pretty good. There was talk for a while of Gurmag being too good. It's sort of funny where we are now in retrospect.
Actually, I think Frosty might be equipping Batter Skull to something.
That's a play I see quite consistently, right? Just throw it onto the Flicker Wisp and fly over everything, right?
Yep. I mean, we're swinging for 7 life gain here, too.
That's huge. There's
That's
really
super big.
being that. Yep.
Not much you can do except Fatal Push it. That's all you really got. Liliana Triumph if you have them, but even then you can't cast them right now.
Right, exactly. Unfortunate. Yeah, there are 2 Liliana's Triumph in the board, which end up being really,
Ooh.
really good. But you know, I think this might be curtains already unless Gen Daddy can pull a miracle here.
Yeah, no, this is looking like a mistake. Definitely agree with the comments from the chat, from Cosmic as well as Nizkulman. Definitely probably should have taken the Wisp at this point. It's looking like a poor decision making tree all around when it comes to that. Unfortunately, um,
Yeah, I mean,
as it
but
turns out.
yeah, it just kind of turned out that way, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Prez, this game has been great.
solid.
It makes you feel for the players, and it gets you right in the chest, and you say, "Oh man, they're gonna lose." But you know what? Somebody's got to lose. And to everybody in chat, I just lost the game. Can't play around both.
Ooh, he had Plague Engineer in hand and he didn't use it? He had 2 Plague Engineers in hand and he didn't use them.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, and well, unfortunately, being on this sort of heavier casting cost Delver deck, right? Your
Oh,
3
yeah.
if you can't get to 3 mana, especially against a Wasteland Port deck, no, it's gonna be hard, right?
No, I definitely agree. It's unfortunate
Yep.
that it went that way. Definitely think that Braids could have been used on the Aether sooner. Um, Definitely, the threats are important, but getting rid of the way to get threats out is way more important,
Yeah,
especially when you're playing a deck that's based on tempo.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
you
when
just have to deal with it.
you're playing up against an excellent player like Frosty, it's gonna be hard no matter how
Oh, yeah.
well. But yeah, so everybody, that looks like it's going to be it for our fight night this week. The PvP. Thanks everybody so much for coming out. Hit exclamation point Discord in the chat. You can check us out. You can see everything that's going on over there.
Oh, yeah.
You can sign up for one of these. You can hit up our league, hit up our LFG channel, the whole 9 yards. So to everybody out there, anything else from you, Mr. Jack Dax?
Yeah, definitely check us out next week. Next Tuesday, we'll have our league finals and semifinals, the top 4 of our November league. That will be fully streamed. It will be 3 rounds, of course. We'll have the first semifinal, and then the second semifinal, and then the finals. And of course, we have Beyond Sadistic trolling us here with the Opposition Agent uh, card that will be coming very soon to a store near you and to your own deck, maybe.
I
Other than
like that.
that, that's myself. I'm Mr. Jack Dex. That's Ivan Above. We hope you had a good night, y'all.
Thank you so much, folks.